Okay, welcome to our second Pilates session. I know the first one, a little bit subtle, little stuff going on, but that's the level we want our nervous system at. So this class, we've got a lot more harder work to do. Now, we've got one piece of equipment that we need, and you can have the other bit that we finished off on. You can have your two cans. Those can be ready. I've actually run out of cans because my two cans, I've used one of them up. So I'm just going to imagine my cans. That's really what this equipment's doing. It is giving us help to be able to imagine what we're after, and then we don't need it once we can imagine it. But another bit of kit you're going to need today is just a pillow. So you can pause the video and you can get a pillow ready, just a normal pillow off your bed, because we're going to need that in a little bit as well. Just put that over the side here, ready for a bit. So in today's session, we're going to figure out a little bit more of what's going on inside. Our body's a bit like, if you've been following on the stretch class, our body fundamentally has these fascial layers, these big connective tissue layers, or nets, we often call them. And our body's a bit like a sandwich. When you stand that sandwich up on its end, it's got a front slice of bread, it's got a big back slice of bread, and it's got the sandwich filling. Now that sandwich filling, that inner layer, is what we want to be getting in touch with more. When Joseph Pilates designed the Pilates exercise regime, he was all about this central sandwich filling. Now, we often call it the core or something else. We often think we've got to strengthen it, but it's not actually the case from my discoveries. What I've actually found is we need to release it. We need to set it free. So in fact, here's the magic, guys. Here's something really amazing to know. You have all the power there inside of you. You don't have to build it up and build it up and build it up and build it up. You've actually just got to set it free. When you set it free, that's where all your power comes in, because just like in the stretch classes, when we release our fascia, our connective tissue, that stuff, when you can pull it back and release its energy, it's super powerful. It makes you feel light, it makes you feel strong, and a whole abundance of other health benefits. Okay, so we're going to start off down on our mats on all fours. Now, some people struggle with wrists and knees and stuff. Get some pillows under your knees if you find your knees are a little bit tender, a little bit dodged. And also when you're on your hands at any point, guys, with this one, this little beginner session we're going to do is come off and give your hands a little roll round. You'll find the more you work with the Pilates, the better. Oh, I forgot one other bit of kit. It's actually right in front of my pillow. You also need a little towel, just like, just a normal little either hand towel or small towel to put on your head, whatever you do with it. So that's already. So you've got your towel and you've got your pillow. Should all have that. Hopefully, all of us have got that kicking around. Not the end of the world if we don't have a towel, but really good little bit of kit. So we're kind of building up your little Pilates home gym. Right. So what we're going to do is something I call caterpillar balloons, which sounds a bit weird, sounds a bit random. But again, you're going to use the power of your mind to focus on what's going on in your body. So I won't go through the gruesome story as to how I came to develop caterpillar balloons. But what we're basically going to imagine is something a bit interesting. So you can imagine your heart in the center of your chest, two big lungs, and a whole bunch of organs in there. Now, if you imagine these as like water balloons, if you like. So you've got one big water balloon of a heart, two big water balloons in your lungs, and a whole bunch of water balloons in your tummy. Now, what we're going to imagine is, when we're on all fours here, imagine your spine runs all the way down from head to tailbone. And what we're going to imagine is each one of those water balloons, your heart first of all, is really heavy and is actually able to hang down. So you've got this water balloon hanging down from your chest, and it's like on a piece of elastic, okay, or like a little bungee cord. You've got two lungs hanging down as well on bungee cords, hanging off the spine, just as if clothes were hanging on a clothesline. And you've got a whole bunch of tummy water balloons all hanging off their elastic bands, all attached to the spine, down the line of the spine there, like the washing line. Strange one, I know, but this will help us get in contact and in touch with this deep sandwich layer, which It's quite tricky. So we're going to relax on all fours here. You get your head completely relaxed, let your shoulders completely relax, let go of your tummy, and just let your bum stick out so your back drops and arches. So you're not holding on with any muscles whatsoever. Now that first little balloon you're going to focus on, that water balloon, is your heart balloon. So with your imagination, that heart balloon's hanging down off its little elastic band. And what I want you to imagine is it's going to be like a little helium balloon now. So it's weighty and heavy to begin with. But then, like a little helium balloon, or if you've seen those little Chinese lanterns, as if you met Addy in the stretch classes, one of our favourite films to watch together is Tangled, the Rapunzel story. Those little lanterns that gently float up in the air with the candles in. That's what we're going to imagine is going to go on with this little heart balloon that's hanging down. It's going to start to float its way up, and you, as if your body's invisible, that heart balloon is going to go through the body and continue floating up. Start off with, it's all heavy and hanging, and then it gets light and it starts to float up. At a certain point, just like a hot air balloon, when the hot air balloon rises up and the ropes start to tighten, the basket is invited up with it, of course. Okay, so that's when your heart balloon floats up to a certain point, and then the lung balloons will be invited to come up, and then the lung balloons will flow up, and then all of a sudden, all the bunch of tummy balloons will go up. I know it's a bit strange, stick with me, but when you imagine it, you'll start to notice things happening in your body. Okay, so we relax the head, we relax the shoulders, relax the tummy, everything's just relaxed. Okay, heart balloon, hanging down first of all, and then what that balloon's going to slowly do in your imagination is slowly float its way up. Float its way up like a little helium balloon or those little Chinese lanterns. And what you'll notice as that heart balloon goes up is your body will start to do something very subtle. Keep your head completely relaxed. Now at a certain point, like I say, just like the hot air balloon, at a certain point, the next part gets invited along just as the basket gets pulled up by the hot air balloon. So at a certain point, bring in your heart balloons. They're hanging, but then all of a sudden they start floating up as well. So heart's leading the way. Lung balloons are now floating up, attached to the heart balloon, floating up with it. And then you'll notice at a certain point, all those tummy balloons get invited up as the third one's down the line, the third one's along. A whole bunch of tummy balloons start floating up. Now, what you start to notice is your head starts to drop down more and more and more. And if you're not squeezing your butt muscles, your bum starts naturally tucking under and your back is forming a big arch shape. And you're not doing this by tucking your bum under on purpose. You're not doing it by pulling your tummy muscles in. It's purely happening with the imagination of your balloons. Now, if we reverse that process, nice and slow, think of your tummy balloons starting to float back down. And then at a certain point, the lung balloons start floating down. And then at a certain point, your heart balloons start floating down. And by the time you've got there, you've returned right back to the beginning. So if you've done much yoga before, there's often a yoga position called cat and cow. So cat is when you tuck and pull up and in like an angry cat. And then you do cow where you stick your bum out and you look forwards. Now that makes us actually work our muscles, and I want something more subtle. I want to get to the inside sandwich filling, okay? So let's do that again. Give the wrist a little roll around, because this is vital to get the actual Pilates movements just right. Otherwise, most people are doing just Pilates with lots of strength, and that's not working with the fascia. It's working with just muscles, and we want the fascia involved as well. That's where the magic is in all of this stuff, okay? So let the head relax, let the bum relax, tummy relax. Okay, let's go again with our imagination. Heavy heart balloons, heavy lungs, heavy tummy balloons. Heart's the first one to start floating up. Starts floating up, let that head hang down. You notice it will start to tuck under without you having to do anything. Then those lung balloons start floating up. Up they come. Lung balloons finding their way up. Then we've got a whole bunch of tummy balloons. Now, naturally, my body is kind of just naturally doing this little sway from side to side. That's normal. And my body's going into this arch shape.
without me having to tuck my bum under or pull my tummy muscles out. In fact, at the top of this arch shape, if you try and relax your tummy muscles, what you should notice is they don't relax. They're actually there. In fact, they're not even pulling up. You could probably, in this big arch, actually pull your tummy muscles up more, yeah? So you know it's not the outer layer, not the front sandwich layer. You're actually using your inner layer to do this, not your outer layer. So this is the sandwich filling I'm talking about. Now start to let the tummy balloons float back down. That's it. And as they float back down, then the lung balloons come down, then the heart balloon comes down, and quite often you'll want to lift your chin a little bit and open out the front of your neck at the end there. Take another breather on the wrists, give them a roll round. Appreciate it's quite a lot of work, and a lot of us, if we've been following along with the stretch sessions, we are going to find that our arms become more flexible and we free up our shoulders, and all of any work in the wrist, everything starts to get better and better and better. So they go in conjunction with each other. Right, now we're going to do that, but in a much quicker action. Okay, so I'm going to demo it first of all. I'm going to let everything relax. I'm going to breathe in to prepare. And then when I breathe out, I'm going to let this happen really quickly, okay? And get rid of all my breath and squeeze out every last drop. Get rid of every last breath. And then on the in-breath, those balloons come back down. Breathing in, breathing in, breathing in as much as I can. And then again, making sure I'm not squeezing my bum or pulling my tummy up. It's the balloons, whoosh, that rush up really quickly. So let's give this a go. We'll do all the way up, all the way down, out breath on the way up, out breath on the way down. 3 lots, okay? We'll do it together. Let's get going. Ready? Breath in to prepare. Breath out, big out breath. All balloons float up. Keep blowing out, keep blowing out, keep blowing out. Get rid of every last drop of breath in your lungs. And then breathe in, the balloons come back down. Chin comes up a little bit, make sure it's all right in the neck. Keep breathing in, fill those lungs back up fully. And then breathe out again when you're ready, get rid of all that breath. Squeeze every, like a tea towel or a dishcloth, squeezing out the water. And then in breath again. Good, and then one last out breath. Get rid of that breath, get rid of that breath. Good, and then one last in breath. Fill those lungs back up, good. Okay. Okay, that's enough on the wrist for now. But getting used to that breathing and getting used to those connections will help us get the Pilates movements done absolutely perfectly. So let's get our towel and let's get our pillow. We use a pillow just to lay on to start with. And we use the towel to connect to different parts of our arms. You know when we did in the last session, we did that push-up training against the wall, and we did our barbell training. We're going to start off with a bit of that barbell training, and then we're going to notice what happens in the arms. But before we notice what happens with the arms, we need to test it out. I'm always a big fan of seeing what it's like before doing something and then retesting it afterwards to know we've made an improvement and we're doing it better. So we're just going to lay with our head on our pillow. We can take our hands just towards the outside of your towel. Make sure it's not too wide, not too close together. What I want you to notice is when you take your towel behind you, what it feels like. What do you get? Where do you get the stretch? And then take that towel back up. Keep trying to just holding on to that towel to start off with. Just notice where you feel the pull. That's it. I'm feeling a lot in my chest, in my pecs here. Okay, just do one more. And then again, I'm feeling it. If I pull outwards on the towel, I feel a lot of tension in the front. Now we want it down the back as well. So a bit like we did yesterday, stand ourselves up, get those big barbells ready with the big loads of weights on the end. Take a big in-breath. And you know what to do on the out-breath. It's not just a big lift up. You try and pull your elbows down to the floor whilst you're lifting. Pull those elbows down to the floor.
and then open, let the inside of the elbows naturally open up to lower that heavy weight back down. Big out breath to curl up. As you pull your elbows down to the floor, how far can those elbows pull down from the tips of your ears? And then breathe in as the front of the elbows open. Let's do one more. Try and pull those elbows down away from the tips of those ears. Good. And return. Good. Shake that off. One last little recap from yesterday. We're going to imagine that zip is zipping down the front and the zip is zipping up the back. And remember that back zip goes all the way over in between your eyes on the top of that nose there, remember? So we got our barbell back. First zip we're going to focus on is the back zip. So imagine it, trace it up, and you'll notice your chin will drop a little bit. Now without changing that back zip, just simply zip down the front. So you come all the way up, almost all the way over, and then all the way down the front there, okay? Now with those zips in place, don't let anything move. Take an in-breath. Elbows to the floor, and you can almost zip up the back and down the front as you lift your barbells up. You'll notice lots more going on in your back. And then as you lower them back down, keep zipping up the back, up that back zip, and down that front zip. And you'll notice you'll be in a very strong stance like this. Up the back zip, down that front zip, right through the center, right down to the pubic bone. Good. And then pulling those elbows to the floor, up that back zip, and then whoosh down the front. That's just where everything is flowing. Up the back, down the front. And that's helping us massively when we do our movement. So now if we come back down to our mats with our, or the floor, don't know if you don't have a mat, do it anywhere. Joseph Pilates wanted everyone to be able to do his technique anywhere. That's what it's all about, accessibility for everyone. So we've got our towel. Now just notice when you float those arms up, now notice where you're feeling it. Now I'm feeling it much more down the back. Now, before you return your towel back up and over, just imagine that zip is going from that tailbone, it's going up the back, up the neck, over and down the bridge of your nose, and right down that front zip. Just come all the way up the back, looping over, and all the way down the front there. And if it continued down the front, what you would notice is your head would actually start to want to come up, because it's kind of zipped up the back, over the top, and it's gone down the front, and it's following your towel. So what we often find is, when we're doing Pilates in the modern day, everyone's trying to pull everything up. But in fact, it's the way it comes up the back and down the front, which actually causes us to get our correct head lift. Rather than the outer layer doing the work, it's the inner layer doing the work. And that's what we want, okay? Don't worry at this stage if it feels a bit tough on your necks or you don't come up too high. It's all about practice, guys, and you'll get there. Okay, so now we've done that, we can move on to the first movement in the Pilates repertoire. Joseph Pilates designed 34 movements that are designed to be done in sequence, very cleverly designed. Now in this little 4 sessions, normally I'll take about 3 months to teach this, but you guys are going for it in 4 sessions, not 3 months. So be easy on yourselves. It's something you can practice. Okay, so what we're going to do, remember your baked bean cans. Okay, well imagine that you can even have them underneath the soles of your feet. That's useful if you've still got them. If not, just imagine they're there, just as I'm going to do today, right? Make sure I'm not going to catch my heels on the edge. And what I'm going to do is, as my arms come up, first of all, I'm going to just visualize my zips coming up the back and down the front there. So it's almost like my head almost wants to come off the pillow already, okay? Now, I'm not going to let my head lift just now. What I'm going to do is, as I take the bar up, make sure the tailbone feels dead heavy, and I'm dragging my baked bean cans in, sliding them in with my feet as I take my arms up behind me. And what you should notice is you should get a really strong feeling either side of your 6-pack abs through the center, either side of those abs, and that's when you know it's the deep sandwich filling. That's the real core we're after.
We're pulling the baked bean cans in as we take those arms behind. Keep that zip up the back, down the front. And then keep zipping up the back and down that front as you slide your baked bean cans out and you take your arms forwards. Okay? Let's do that again. Slide those baked bean cans in, take the arms up, keep zipping up the front and down the back. Keep lightly pulling out on your towel. When your towel goes slack, you want to pull out on it. Make sure you keep that tension on the towel. And then keep zipping up the back, down the front, slide your baked bean cans out as you return your towel forwards. Now, this point, guys, because you're brand new to this way of working, and even if you've done Pilates for years, you're going to find this is very different to what you would have done. A lot of time, normal Pilates is telling you to tuck and engage your core and do all those other things. With all the new knowledge on fascia, we've actually been able to understand and decode what Joseph Pilates might have really meant deep down with his technique. And a lot of this work supports his original ideas more than the modern ideas. So quite interesting stuff. Right, so the next thing we do when we are doing a 100 is normally we would beat the arms. If you have seen it done before, they look like a little wind-up toy. Now, we're not going to do that. We're just going to float into this position and hold it there for one full breath. Breath in as we practice on all fours. And one out breath. So it's going to look like this. I'll demonstrate first. Just watch me. I'm pulling my baked bean cans in. I'm pulling my arms up and over. I'm zipping up the back and down the front. Then I'm sliding my cans back out. I'm keeping those zips up the back and down the front. And at a certain point, my head just floats off my pillow a little bit. And if I keep sliding those baked bean cans out, my legs float a little bit off the floor as well. And when I'm here, I'm just going to take one big in breath all the way up through my body. Get as much breath in as I can. And then as I breathe out, I'm going to zip up the back and zip up the front. And the head might lift a little bit more. And then I'm going to lower down. And that is, we're going to do that 3 times, lowering down each time, setting it up each time, and building it up. The reason why it's called the 100 is eventually when we become super practiced in it, what we're able to do is we're able to breathe in for 5 beats and breathe out for 5 beats. And when we've done 10 breaths, we would have done 100 beats. But it's all about building up to that, guys. And as this is a little 4-session mini beginner course, we're not going to go into those stages just yet, okay? We're going to get it right first, get the foundation set, and the rest will follow. Right, let's get ready all together. So baked bean cans under there, or imaginary cans, your towel in front, pull out on that towel. Straight away, visualize your zip up the back and down the front. Pull in, pull up and in, pull the cans in. Take the arms behind on the in-breath. Good. And as you breathe out, find that point when you slide, the legs will just float a little bit off the floor. The head will float a little bit off your pillow. And then you're going to breathe in, big in-breath all the way up. Keep zipping up the back, down the front. As you breathe out, keep zipping up the back, down the front. Good. You can lower down or you can keep going. Keep zipping up that back and over the bridge of the nose, down the front. One more if you can. Take a breather if you need to. Good. Really listen to your bodies, guys. If that's feeling harsh in your backs, then take a breather after each breath and then do it again and build it back up, okay? So that's what we call the 100. And so this is only the level we're going to take it to, just to what we've just done there. It's very normal to feel some tension down the sides of your necks. It's good tension because you're actually loading the tension, or you're freeing up the tightness. You're not creating more. It's very normal to feel it in your backs. So only do 1 breath at a time when you're holding that position. If it is too uncomfortable, then try not to really lift up that much. Don't even lift the feet a little bit. Don't even lift the head. Just feel, even if when you come out and you go back, and your legs don't lift and your head doesn't lift, and that's enough in your front without your back hurting in this deep system, then that's all you need to go to. Really listen to your bodies, guys, okay? And stick to the appropriate level. Wonderful. Okay. The next movement in the repertoire is called a roll up. And what happens with a roll up is exactly what it says. After you've done your 100s, you roll up to a seated position. Now, for most of us, our sandwich filling, especially low down, is very, very tight, and it doesn't want to roll up very easily. So what we're actually going to do is bring our pillow in, and we're going to open up a lot of the tension, a lot of the tightness in around your spine in this sandwich filling lower down and in your hips, because it tends to be extremely tight. So you bring your pillow into your bum and you lay down and you slide yourself back a little bit, just so your tailbone is kind of halfway on top of the pillow, okay? And you're going to slide your legs out there. And this is obviously putting you in a slight back bend position and hopefully feel supported in your back, and it's opening the front. Okay, so as we do this, there's various things we're going to do. First thing we're going to do, we have our palms down by our side. We'll use the towel again in a minute. We're going to bend the knees up actually to start off with, just as a little bit more comfortable. And our goal here is to imagine, we're going to imagine we've got two heavy pairs of boots on, okay, really, really heavy, and they're made of solid steel. And we're going to try and lift the right leg first. So you're going to try and lift your right heel as much as you can. Now again, visualize up the back, that zip, and down the front zip. And then what will happen is your whole pelvis, your hips will rock forwards a little bit. Rather than pulling back, you'll rock forwards, because you come up the back, and then this forward zip will actually let you pull forwards a little bit. That's what we want. So your tailbone is pressing down into your pillow. Heavy steel boot, you're going to try and lift it up as much as you can without your hip tightening up. So you might feel a stretch in your thigh muscles as you lift. Lower that heavy boot down, and then zip up the back and down the front again, so your everything pulls downwards. Lift that left heavy boot up as high as you can, getting that stretch on your thigh muscle. This will work really well when we get into our next session, session 3. Let's do one more heavy boot each side. Try to lift your tiptoes first, lift your heels first, zip up the back, down the front. So you start to feel there's a pull in your center. Doesn't feel like you can lift your leg normally that much because it feels super tight. We're actually stretching our thigh muscles, our quads, when we do this. So let's do one more on the left. Not a big movement at all, but it prepares us. It's actually stretching the quads out in a very, very clever way. Stretching the quads with the sandwich filling in the right place, okay? Perfect. Next, gently slide the legs out. And what I want you to do is imagine from here, again, you've got your baked bean cans underneath your feet, right? And what we're going to do, first of all, is we're just going to slide just one leg in, one can in. So zip up the back, down the front. That zip goes down the front, it's looped over the top of your head, so your chin drops to your chest. And you're going to imagine you're sliding your baked bean can in just to the point before anything changes in your hips. And then that can is super heavy now. And you're going to try and lift that can up from the sole of your foot. Again, you're going to likely feel quite a big stretch on your thigh muscle. Lower that can down, slide the can back out. Let's do the same on the other leg. Sliding that leg in, slide the can in, roll it in as far as you can. Keep zipping up the back, down the front there. Use your arms for strong support. And then lift that heavy can. It weighs an absolute ton. Let your tailbone really press down into the mat, into the pillow cushion as you're lifting your leg. And you should get a really big stretch in your thigh muscle, in your quads. And then lower down and slide your can out. Take a little breather there. So what we're doing here again is we're freeing up our fascia. We're doing it properly though. A lot of the time we're not doing it with the connection to the sandwich filling. Right. Okay, next thing. Both baked bean cans are under the feet. We're just going to slide them in a little bit, just to like a fraction so your knees pop up. Keep your hands strong, keep your tailbone feeling heavy, pressing. And when you try and press your tailbone down, we want to resist zipping up and tucking our pelvis in. We want to always focus on the zip coming up the back and down the front. I know you're just going to get sick of me saying that, but if I say it enough, that'll just be always what you focus on and you'll get it right. We don't want to pull this up and in. We want it to actually loop from the back up and down. That's where we'll get a lot of the really magical stuff out of it. Okay, right. So we've rolled those cans in. We keep zipping up the back, down the front. We slide the cans back out. And now I want you to just press one heel down and the opposite leg is going to lift that bean can up, but it's a straight leg. Keep pressing down with that tailbone by zipping up the back and down the front. Lift that can up as high as you can. Again, you're likely to feel a stretch in the thigh. And then slowly lower that heavy can back down. It's really heavy. You don't want to drop it on the floor. It will probably smash the floor. It's that heavy. Okay, now press that heel down, the one you just lifted, and the opposite one will start to come up. Zip up the back, down the front, heavy tailbone presses in. Arms are strong and they're helping to stabilize as you lift that heavy can underneath your foot and then lower it down with control. This is going to really help us when we do our single leg circles, which is the movement after our roll up. Okay, so now we've got our legs much better engaged and we've actually been cleverly stretching all of this stuff because you haven't been pulling it in and closing it in. You've been all the time stretching it out. Very cool. I've been using some clever concepts to help you prepare for these next movements. Okay, take the pillow out. Just relax a second. Let your back get used to these new feelings, okay? And remember, when you're lifting cans with feet and whatever, imaginary bean cans, always listen to your back. You might not raise up too high. You might just lift it a little bit off the floor. Listen to your bodies all the time, guys, okay? You know, I'm not able to be there in person with you to keep an eye on you. Right, so next we've got this movement called the roll up. And what we do is in the beginning, we actually have our pillow near our bum. I'm just going to come back a little bit, so I've managed to move down the mat. And we're going to get our towel ready, okay? And you're going to see what we're going to do. So we're sitting up, we bring our pillow in towards our tailbone, our bum, and we just lay over the top of it. It's a bit different to what we just did because our tailbone was on top. Now it's on front here. Okay, we've got our baked bean cans ready, okay, underneath our feet. We've got our towels ready. And our goal here, as we did before, is to zip up the back. And I can hear you, down the front. And we're going to pull the baked bean cans in and take the arms behind. You should get a big stretch, a working stretch in your tummy now, in your core. Now, as you take those arms and those cans forwards, what I want you to do, you're going to breathe in when you come up and back, pulling in. And on your out breath, you're going to breathe out and come up. Okay? So let's do that together. We're here. We're breathing in. Nice big in breath. Feel those lungs as we pull in. And out breath. Slide the cans. Bring the arms down and breathe out. Zipping up the back and down the front. And hopefully we managed to come up with not too much effort. Okay? Should we give that another go? When we're ready, pulling sliding those cans in, taking the arms behind, breathing in. As we breathe out, slide the cans out, bring the hands down and breathe out and come up. Zipping up the back and down the front. That back picks us up and it shoots down the front there. Good. Do that one more time. Okay, one more time here. Breath in, pull in the cans, take the arms back. Feel that load is stretching your tummy. As you breathe out, slide them out and go up the front, down the back. Nice. Good work. Hopefully that was working okay. Don't worry if you got to this point, because often our mind is very trained at pulling up the front and down the back, which reverses it, which might feel you're not strong enough in your tummy muscles, but just, you know, I've said it a million times already, Focus on where it's flowing, up the back, down the front, and it should lift you up without too much effort. And you're starting to train your muscles and where your mind visualizes as to which way the energy should be flowing and which way everything works together. Perfect, right. We've got one more movement to practice today called single leg circles. We don't need either the pillows or the towel. And this last one, I'm going to move my mat so you can see me a bit better. This is what we'll do after we have done our roll-ups. And this is all about opening up the sockets, your deep hip sockets, the balls in the sockets here. So what we're going to do is lay ourselves down, palms are down by our side, heels are there. Just for a change, we're going to visualize zipping up the back and down the front, hey, and then keep those zips in that direction as you pull your imaginary baked bean cans in, and we slide them out. Now, at that point, press down into one heel and lift that heavy baked bean can up. Okay, and we're going to do some small circles here. We're going to take the leg across first of all and take it around and up. Your nose is the middle of the circle, and the circles don't go out any wider than your hips. But I want you to try and imagine all the time that as you zip up the back and down the front, that down the front continues all the way to your big toe and beyond. So as you're doing 5 circles one way, you're focusing on zipping up the back, down the front, and all the way down the inner thigh, down to your big toe as it circles out. And we do 5 circles the other way, all of that stretch all the way down. Staying heavy on that tailbone for support. Use those arms for lots of support. Good. And once you've done 5 in each direction, lower down, because for most of us, our thigh, when we're doing it properly, will get a bit tired. Okay, ready for the next one. Let's set it up properly again. Palms are down, stabilizing. You know, I'm not going to say it. And then we're just going to pull both baked bean cans in first. Remember I mentioned this is coming in to go out. I mentioned it in last, and I'll say that again. Saves me having to say baked bean cans. And then press down with the opposite heel as you lift that heavy baked bean can up with the opposite leg. Okay? And then we go over the other side. Remember, nose is the middle of the circle. And you just keep your focus on coming up the back, down the front, and continue down the front through the inner thigh, all the way to your big toe and beyond, like a laser beam shooting out from that big toe and continuing. 5 circles one way, 5 circles the other way. Nose is the middle, shoulders are the outside. So I want to make sure we're not going all the way out and we're rolling all over the shop. Just small circles so your tailbone stays heavy and your hips actually stay quite still. And 5, lower down. Okay, turn your palms up to the ceiling. Let your legs relax. I know there seems to be a lot of explaining of what we're doing with this, and that's probably one reason why Joseph Pilates' original technique has almost like died out a little bit, because it's not the big rough and tumble core work that modern Pilates often is. It's more there's a lot more to it than meets the eye, but there's a lot of magic. There's so much more benefits to be had. So just notice as you're laying here how you relaxed you feel the buzziness through your legs. You often feel lots of buzz and tingling because we're opening up for energy to flow through our bodies. We're not building up lots of tight muscles. Yes, they might be strong in a muscle sense, but there's no flow going on. And that, guys, is the number one thing for what we're wanting to achieve, is opening up for flow. That's where you're going to be more healthy. You're going to be more in control of your emotions. You're going to help your mind so much. It's going to be more positive. You're going to be able to cope with situations better. I mean, doing this work this way is going to change your life by doing it. I can't say that enough. So it can seem a bit tedious sometimes. It can feel a bit tricky, but it's well worth practicing. Great. That's our second session, guys. In the next session, we're going to finish off the beginner, this repertoire to get all 7 exercises sorted. And there's a couple of extras in there. And then our 4th session, we're going to put it all together as one big, awesome workout. Great to see you guys today. And I really look forward to seeing you in session number 3. See you soon.